Constraint Layout. Hello everyone. This is the video where we're going to talk about constraint layout. So as you know, I mentioned about the constraint layout in some of the previous videos, but I didn't really give you much information because I wanted to make a separate video on this topic after you learned a few of the skills. So the constraint layout has appeared with Android 3.0. And the constraint layout is an advanced model of the relative layout. Now, if you remember the relative layout, the components can take places according to each other's positions or relative to each other's positions. But there could arise some problems with different screen sizes. So we won't be able to, get the full performance for different screen sizes in that relative layout. But with the constraint layout, we will not have that type of problem. In the constraint layout, components can take place according to each other's positions and screen edges. So that way, these are the features that solve most of those problems and give us some flexibility in order to create different views for different applications on different devices. The constraint layout is a basic layout in Android Studio 3.0 and higher versions. So before any more delay, let's get to Android Studio and see constraint layouts in practice. So of course we have this project from before and we're continuing to build on it. So there's something that I want to show you in this project. So you can see here the main activity layout is linear layout. And now I want to show you how you can change this linear layout to the constraint layout. So I'll go to the XML code of this activity and delete linear layout. And then after that, I'll just write constraint layout. And that's it. Now we have a constraint layout. So also I want to show you that when you open a new project or a new activity, the constraint layout will be the basic layout. So I will create a new activity. And also you can see how to create a new activity. So first I'll just click the app folder and I will go to the File, New, Activity, and choose Empty Activity. And then, of course, this will create another activity like the main activity. Now, I need to give it a name. Android Studio gave it main2 activity automatically, but I think I can change that. I'll give it a name, constraint layout. That way we remember our path. And this is just the activity name. It doesn't affect the activity layout type, right? Also, I'm going to click the launcher activity. So when I run the application, this activity will be open first. And I'll just click Finish. And now Android Studio will create a new activity for me. And what you see here in this activity is the constraint layout is the basic activity. So how'd that happen? How does Android Studio use the constraint layout as its basic? Because constraint layout is way more useful with the different screen sizes. Now, of course, you can choose whatever layout you want to work on, but if you learn how to work with constraint layout, you will not want to work with any of the other layouts. It also depends on what type of application you're going to develop. So I will add a new button on the activity. When I add this button on the activity, Android Studio gives me a warning. This view is not constrained vertically. So what does that mean? When I add a new component on the activity, I'll need to give it constrained values. So if I run this application, this button will take a 0 position vertically. So let's run the application and see where this button takes its position. I put this button here, but will it stay in the same position? And so you can see when the application is opened, the button went to the 0, 0 position. So the reason for this is I did not define the constraints for this button. I wanted to show it to you, right? So it'll be the same for the other activity. In the main activity, I changed the linear layout to the constraint layout, but I did not define constraints. So because of this, when I run this activity, everything will take the 0, 0 position. So what if I want to define these constraints? How do I define the constraints? I definitely want to define the constraints, right? So in the constraint layout, we'll just have to give at least 2 positions vertically and horizontally for every item. And I'll do it like this. So for example, if I want to give a position for the left side, I will click the left side of the button and drag it to the left edge of the screen. And this will give the position for horizontal. I'll do the same for the vertical. And now this button is bonded to both sides. So now I can drag this button wherever I want, and when I drop it here, it will take a position from the top 180 dp and left 132 dp. So let's run it again and see what will happen. So the application opens, and what you see here is it takes its position. So also I can put this button in the center position. I'll just right-click on this button and choose Center horizontally or vertically. And I'll choose horizontal, but it does not take the center position because I need to delete the constraint. So after I delete the constraint, it takes the center position. Now, even if I give it a left and right position, it needs a top or bottom position. Android Studio gives us a warning because if I run an application like this, the button will jump to the 0 position vertically. So let's run it again. So you see when I click this run icon, the button takes place center horizontally, but takes the 0 position vertically. Now if I right-click again on this button and choose center vertically, it will take up its center position. So let's run it again. And you see, it's now in the center. Okay, so how can I delete these constraints? So when I click the edge of the button, it will be deleted. Now I will add constraints for all the sides. Left, right, up, and down. Now there's a quick way to delete all of these constraints. There is an icon here. When I click this icon and click yes, it will delete all of the constraints. And now I'll give 2 sides boundings. And after I bound it, I can drag it everywhere. Okay, so you ready to add another component? Let's do that. I will add a text view. And I put this text view here. So now we have one button and one text view. So I gave constraints for the button, but I didn't give it for the text view. So if I run the application, the text view will jump to 0, 0, right? And as you can see here, TextView is now in the start position. Now I can give constraints to the text view horizontally and vertically like this. And I can change sizes like this. But of course, there is another way. So I can give constraints to this text view according to the button. So let's delete this from here, and I will bound this text view to the button. All right, so now text view will keep its distance correlating with the button. Now, what do you suppose the advantage of this is? So when the application runs in different screen sizes, the position will still be kept. And when I drag the button to somewhere, the text view will follow it. And the text view takes the position according to the button. So now I want to show you how this design will be seen on the different screen sizes. You can change the screen types from here. Okay, so for example, I use 5 ink, 1080 by 1920, 420 dpi pixel screen, and I'll change 5.5 ink screen size, and now look at my design. Look at how that's seen. And you can see it here. Even though I change the screen size, it keeps the distance. And if I choose a tablet screen, it'll be seen like this. And you see that? So the constraint layout keeps the position of everything in the different screen sizes. Oh, and also, if I click the constraint layout and click this icon, it'll delete all the constraints. So if I run this application, the button and the text view will jump to the 0, 0 position. And you can see here the text view is behind the button. So let me add another text view. And now we have one button and two text views, and all of them are in different positions because I did not give them any constraints. So if I run this design, all of them will jump to the start position. Now, let me show you an easy way to give these constraints all together. So there's a button here. Yeah, it looks like a magic stick, all right. Now, if I click this button, Android Studio will take care of all the constraints automatically. I don't need to regulate it myself. So let's run it again and see what will happen. And what do you see here? Everything is in the same place. Constraint Layout made the design itself automatically. You'll just have to put everything wherever you want and click the magic button. And then after that, the Constraint Layout will do everything auto-magically. And wow, if I didn't blow your mind, I certainly did mine. I think it's enough. And hey, you don't want to be bored. Let's do something else in the next video. I'll see you then.